Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays with Master Coach Gretchen Heido. This month we're focusing, or in this session, we're focusing on niches, when they work, when they don't work, any questions you may have around a niche that you've been working with or thinking about working with. And with that, I will give that over to Gretchen.
Well, I'm really happy to see all of you tonight. We're going to have a little bit of an intimate group, but what I thought we would do as we're talking about niches is we're going to workshop some of this, and I'm going to take a lot of your Q&A too. Just as a reminder, some of you are here for my Stairway to Six program, and some of you are coaches just in the community. So for my Stairway to Six program, I know we just went over this last week at this point. This will be an add-on for you to go deeper with it. And I just think it's good to hear things more than once anyway, but really feel free to ask all of your questions or anything that you didn't understand from our last session or any places that you still want to workshop. But I'm glad to see all of you tonight. Really, really happy to see you. And, you know, I was thinking a lot about this with the to niche or not to niche. That is the question. Coaches spend a lot of time thinking about niche. And should they niche or should they not? And I will tell you that there are so many places out there that are happy to sell coaches programs all about why you should niche. I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong. It's just not my way of teaching it. So if you do want to niche, I'm not going to tell you don't do it. I'm just going to help you expand on some of your thinking as to some other ways to think about niching. So niching, just to recap, is really when you pick one target market and you are only going to work with this certain sect of people. Maybe they have to be men between the ages of 37 and 45 who drive this certain type of car and have a job that earns X amount of dollars in a certain industry. And while there's nothing wrong with that, what it does is it takes away the creativity that is always available to you when it comes to earning income and working with interesting people. Your target market, however, are the characteristics of the people that you enjoy working with. So for me, and we've talked about this before, I really enjoy working with driven people who are up to big things. They can be male, they can be female, they actually can identify however they identify. They can work for corporations, they can be entrepreneurs. But what I enjoy is that they're fun, they have an income to be able to afford coaching, and they're driven. So it's different when we think about niche. Niche is very, very narrow, and target market is the people that you're attracted to out there in the world. And let me just say this. You guys all know that I work with many types of people. Coaching has to be one specialty that I have, but all of you are driven people who are up to big things. Another target market that I have, or a specialty that I have, is working with women. All right. Now, if I said that I only work with women, then some of you would not be on this call, and that would be sad. But it would also be, it would strangle my creativity and some of what I like to do, because men are driven people as well who are up to big things. And I just want to show you something. So my book came out over this week. Yesterday was launch day. Super, super excited about this. And yes, I did just kind of want to show this to you, and I'm going to tie it into what I'm teaching. If I said I only worked with women, okay, and based on the book, it's pink and whatever else, it's very female. What would happen to all the men that I coach? When I look at my client board right now, 65% are men that I coach. In my programs, there are always men. If I said I only work with women who are women in business, then some of the females that I coach would be taken off of that list. That's why I do not particularly, hello, good to see you. That's why I do not particularly think that people should just say that they have a certain niche. You really can expand by thinking about, well, who do I like to serve? So let me just pause there for a minute, because we have some people who aren't from our Stairway to Six program. And we have some people that couldn't come this last time either because of storms and those sorts of things. What are you hearing in this about to niche or not to niche?
I'll raise my hand.
Thanks.
What I'm hearing is, at least for me in particular, It lets my brain be more open and not try to get it right and just serve.
I love that. I love that. Your brain can be more open and curious is what it sounds like, and just serve.
Yep.
Who else? What'd you get from this first part?
I would say for me, because I looked at going niche early on, and what I
Yeah.
realized is the best way to actually hit my target market is not to do that, because it allows me maybe to get into a conversation with someone that I would have maybe written off. And then when I start having that conversation, wow, they're a great person. And then they can introduce me to someone else. So in order to actually grow my business from the ground up, this is going to be the fastest way to actually get to my ideal client anyway. So that's how I've come around on it, because I was all about niche.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's not that you were wrong in thinking about niche. We are taught that in every single marketing program that we ever take, that you have to have a niche. So here's how I want you to think about it. Does everyone have a piece of paper, or you can type, have a writing tool in front of you? Okay. When we think about niche, I want you to change the word to specialty market. Okay, who's your specialty market? And so for me, coaches are a specialty market. Even within coaches, I have 3 different specialty markets. I have brand new coaches. I've got more advanced coaches. And then I have coaches that I will work with on a one-on-one basis as my mentee for the year to really teach them and train them in everything that I know about running a successful business. But it's 3 really different markets inside of that specialty group. I've got the specialty group of executives that I coach, team coaching that I do. And then I have C-suite executives. Then I have women that I coach. So take a minute and just think, if you, instead of the word niche, specialty markets, who are they for you? If you were going to do this, and if you were going to have a specialty market, and you don't have to, but if you were, who is it?
I would say people in transition. Primarily, I've been working with women in transition, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to working with men, struggling with maybe 40s, mid-career, and really, what do I want to do now with my life? I've done this for a long time, but I've got all these other skills. Where do I go, and how do I go about that?
Yeah, good, good, good. Who else? What'd you come up with for some specialty markets? Go for it, Susan.
Yeah, oh no, you saw me.
I see you.
I'm a big niche person. I've been doing the same kind of what I call exclusively focusing on STEM women in the life sciences.
Yeah.
But I've now expanded it to academia as well as private public agencies. But I really struggle because I feel that it's so easy for people to understand what I do when I say, this is who I attract and this is where I'm most comfortable. And that's why I'm very happy to have a niche. I'm not going to give that up without a big fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so listen, you don't have to. I want you just to think of that though as specialty area, because here's the thing, that those are the subjects that you're comfortable with. Those are the people that you're comfortable with. I'm really comfortable coaching coaches. I know all the things to say to coaches, no problem. So you can think of your specialty and your subject matter. What do people come to you for? So we know for you, it's academia and STEM. But what if someone came to you outside of that and they were curious, and they were fun, and they were clearly smart, they were academic, but they didn't work in that sector? Would you still coach them?
It hasn't happened yet, but maybe it will another day.
Okay. But what's your answer though? Would you still coach them?
I think I would, just out of curiosity. I think I would be like a learning exercise. So I'm thinking this person doesn't exactly fit into what I call my ideal client, but they're so engaging and we had so much fun and I really enjoyed them. Yeah, let's see what can grow from this.
There you go. And that's why we expand. There's nothing wrong in having that niche target market specialty area. That's how your pointer knows who to look for. But I would hate for you to give up any kind of income that came your way simply because someone wasn't in academia. Like if I wanted you to coach me, I am not in academia, but you are very driven as a coach. You're organized. You've got a great personality. I might want to hire someone just like you or you as a coach. And it would be a missed opportunity, right? If I didn't hit your certain guidelines of being in academia. But, and this is so good, Susan, and for everyone, if we look at this differently, instead of what do you enjoy about the people that you work with, everyone take a minute. Think about the people that you enjoy the most that you work with. What are those personality traits or traits that they have that you enjoy the very most? Everyone just take a minute and write those down. Like, I like people who they want to get down to it. We don't waste a lot of time with all the how are you and this and that. They don't, I mean, they care and that's nice and we love each other, but like, let's go. You know, they're ready. They're ready to be coached. They're not time wasters. They're willing to follow through. They're funny. They drop some humor that you're like, okay, and it's funny. You know, if you weren't coaching them, you could see that they probably would be your friend. You know, they're your type of person. So think about what is it for you? And Susan, I'll go back to you. What the people that you enjoy working with the most, what traits do they have?
I call them idiot savants.
Ooh, say more.
So thank you, Maria, who is my peer coach. She and I had a conversation about this. I see the people that that sometimes come to me is that they are brilliant technically and scientifically, but really lack the interpersonal skills, and they really are quite naive when it comes to how to manage other people, how to handle conflict, how to delegate, how to build a team, how to collaborate, all these skills, because they're assumed because you're so brilliant scientifically, you should know how to lead a team.
So Susan, in that, I will say this to you. That's also an executive coach. CEOs are very much what you have described. In and out of academia. I don't even work with anyone inside of academia. And I coach a lot of CEOs. It sounds like you just described my 3 top CEOs that I'm coaching right now. So that's where, when we can look for, well, who are they? What do they all have in common? This is where, if you wanted to, and I'm not telling you to ever give up what's working, just like I would not coach coaches. You should not coach these people in STEM and academia, but who else might you coach? And so we're looking for what are the common traits that we enjoy and who else might have them. That can double or triple your client base and your income. So let's pause there. Who else wants to share on this? What are you hearing? What are you noticing?
I think for me, going about this process, I realized I love the entrepreneurial spirit. Those who are independent, sometimes flying solo, and it's tough to keep pushing through. And so I found myself kind of looking at some of those qualities and realizing, even if I have a niche for down the road, I'm likely to get in front of more people if I kind of have a wider road. I think that's just like light bulb went off thinking that way. It's like, that's the fastest way to get to people if I decide to narrow it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives us variety. The other thing too, the other reason that I shy away from teaching specifically on what's your niche and tell you instead to think of it as specialty area or target market is, when we think bigger, we can get really creative and curious. So like with the example of Susan, who she just described, and I said, well, CEO, she might not have even known that, But if it's interesting to her, now she can think about, well, what CEOs do I know, or what corporations do I know? The other thing with her of who she described is people that are at middle management level. They have no idea what the freak they're doing personality wise or how to run people or anything else. Directors are typically your best people in an organization. They're not as stretched, but managers, they have the worst job. They really do. And their people skills and everything else, they don't have time for it. And then your CEOs, they're just busy and they're visionaries and they don't care as much about that skill. So I see a whole lot of other places that you probably could coach, and so that's why we think about these things and we don't stay so pigeonholed. Now, it's not to say that, if you've made your mark somewhere and that's where you want it to be, that you don't just stay there. You can. But when I really think about this, for myself and my own path, I never knew that I was going to get called or coined the coach's coach. That just happened. I started coaching coaches. I coached some other coaches. Then I created a program. Then I created another program. And it made sense, but it didn't mean that I didn't coach other people, other entrepreneurs. And what are coaches? Coaches are a segment of entrepreneurs. And so it's not as different as we think. And remember that as a coach's job, if you're not consulting, we don't have to know the industry. We only have to be there to help the client to stay on track with what it is that they state that they want. So that can really open you up too. I had a guy from NASA who had me coach him. And I was really brand new in coaching. And I thought, NASA, I don't know a thing about NASA. This guy's way smarter than me. Like, this is what my internal is saying, narrative. And it didn't matter. I coached that guy for a year. We had a great relationship. He got a lot done that he needed to get done. So if we stay in our coaching frame, when we are coaching people from different specialty areas, we might be really surprised about who it is that we are interested in. Give me some other feedback. Someone who hasn't shared yet. What's coming up for you? What are you getting? Quiet tonight.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am curious because now I've been asked a few times to tell me for people want to know what my niche is, or like, am I looking for someone? And I usually try to respond of like, no, a good coach can coach anybody. I tend to really like coaching, people that are at a crossroads and want to and I kind of give the person, I know we've done a lot of it of this work. I think I also, though, I'm wondering what and why do we have specialty areas? Is it more so for us as coaches because we just enjoy it and can empathize more with the experience? Or is there, like, I think that's what I've been saying, and I think that's it, but I'm curious what your perspective is on that as well.
I'm so glad that you brought this up. You never have to have a specialty area. You don't. You never have to have a target. It is important to know personality traits, but especially in the beginning, coach everybody. Coach all sorts of people. We don't even know who we like a lot of the times until we've had some experiences with different personalities. So when someone says, are you looking for a certain type of person, or are you looking for someone, you can say, I really enjoy helping people get from where they are to where they want to go. They're usually in a transition. And with coaching, people can get there faster and more efficiently than they would alone. So, but you do not have to have a specialty area. The truth is, I have fallen into every single specialty area that I've done. Fallen into it. I didn't know this was going to be a specialty area. I did know that entrepreneurs would be a specialty area because I was going to do some consulting as well on marketing and PR and business. And I have a background in that. So there's those things too, that if you are going to add something extra that you do when you coach, maybe some consulting or an add-on, that might be a specialty area. And that's okay. But in the beginning or forever, coach is just coach. You can coach anyone in front of you if you follow, what we all learn in coaching school about making sure that we have a good topic, a good outcome, and a good form of measurement. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. What makes you said you fell into your specialty areas, and at the same time, we can coach anybody. So I'm curious, like, why do we even have them? I like having them, but I think I'm just still wondering, like, who's the specialty area for?
Well, sometimes what ends up happening is if you do have a specialty area, then let's say for a program like Stairway to Six or Coaching for Coaches in this call, I know that I'm going to send this out to coaches only. It's not for everyone. It's not for my greater audience. So it can help you with that. And what I meant by when I fell into them is suddenly most of my clients were whatever that coaches, or most of my clients were executives. And I realized that I enjoyed it. I've had other people, types of personalities that have shown up that I did not enjoy as much, but that really helped me for myself that I could coach this person because I can coach anyone in front of me. But then we get to ask ourselves the question, but do I want to? Do I want to? Am I the best coach for them?
Yes. Okay, that answers the
Okay.
question.
Okay, good. I was waiting to get the click there. I knew I hadn't quite gotten it yet. You feel complete with that?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Who else has something that they want to ask or throw out tonight? Play around with a little bit.
I wondered if often people will ask you, well, who do you coach? So if they're like searching for a coach, they're almost looking for, what's your niche? And I never say, oh, I only coach these folks. So, but I maybe talk about who I've worked with before, like I've heard you do a couple times tonight. So I guess that's an adequate answer. But it's really interesting how so many coaching schools really focus on very first thing when you first become a coach is choosing a niche, and I'm never comfortable with that. But it now, I guess this explains more why you don't really have to, or I feel like it really pigeonholes you.
It can. And in coaching school, the reason they do that is they want you to be able to go out and find clients somewhere. And and for some people, if it's like, I can coach anyone, then they can't find even one human to coach because it's too big. And so they're trying to help you to laser in. But I will say it's something about that word niche where people can get really stuck. And so if you can think of it instead specialty area,
like that.
desirable kind of client, it really can.
Great. Good stuff. Thank you.
Good. And to your point about, if someone were to ask, who do you coach? Everyone will have a different answer for this. There's that problem and solution that we can do. I help this kind of person do this kind of thing, which we all went over a couple of weeks ago. Or you can say, I help driven people. I help this specific personality trait to do this kind of thing. It's really up to you, but you'll come up with it the more that you coach, the more people that you're around. Anyone else? What are you wondering about this?
Well, something I just observed yesterday, meeting with someone who I'm going to coach, and they're like an inventor. They've invented some radar system and they're trying to secure funding for it. And they're really quiet. At least I thought they were. And so I kind of thought I understood this person's personality, who they were and what they wanted. But the second we started talking, what he needed coaching on was not at all what I thought he needed it on. And his whole personality opened up. And I was like, okay, this guy's totally different than I thought he was. Let's see how this goes. And so it was just a reminder that I think for me, at least, I might write off what I think is not going to be a good fit. And I don't think we know sometimes until we actually sit and talk with someone. I mean, sometimes we probably know. I'm sure, Gretchen, but it went, yeah. So
it's always worth having a connection call. It's always worth having a connection call. There have been people that I thought there's no way I'm going to coach this person. And there have been people that I thought I can hardly wait to coach this person. And then I've had the connection call and it's been like, nope. And yes, to the one that I didn't think that I would ever coach. And I'm so surprised. And that's where too, We can't go in with any agenda. And with a niche, what happens is we've already put boundaries around it. Well, they have to be this, this, and this. Where if we go in really curious, you can be open to a completely different type of connection and conversation. So what I want to do with this last half an hour that we have is I want to let's workshop some. I want to open this up to you to ask any question you want. Maybe you have something going on with a client that you're wondering about or something that's coming up. Any question on coaching that you have is fine, but you guys decide, this next part's going to be informed by the group. We've done a lot of learning for my Stairway to Sixers and for the rest of you that are here as well. So many concepts that are out there. And I know as a coach, I've had a lot of questions and not a lot of time or airspace to be able to ask. So let's use it like this. What are you wondering about when it comes to coaching, your business, packages, pricings? What do I say? Self-esteem. Those are just some that I'm planting here, but really anything that you're wondering about, I am happy to answer. And we can use the group as a group think tank too. I don't always have every answer. Let's use the group for all of our collective ideas. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. So who has something? Okay, Susan, I saw that. Go for it.
How do you assess whether during the connection call, that this client has the funds to pay for coaching? How do we ask it? How do we assess it? How do we do this so it doesn't sound salesy? Please help.
Woo, ding, 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 ding. I love this question. I love all questions that have to do with how do we find out about the money? Here's what I know about the connection call and what I've seen work over and over. When you do a good connection call and it is at a slowed down pace, you've really gotten to know the client. You understand what their struggles are. You understand what they want, and you can reflect back their vision and what you see for them. One of two things is going to happen. They're either going to ask you, tell me more. How do we work together? What's your pricing? Or they'll say, thanks. If it's a thanks, let them go. That means that, for whatever reason, it didn't work. Or if you want to, you can prod a little bit and ask them, what are you thinking about this? Those sorts of things. It's completely up to you, but it shows me a lack of energy. Sometimes what it means is that they have no idea what you're talking about and what you're actually going to do. So you've missed a step. So that's something to think about as well. But I wait for the question. I never just tell someone, hey, and here's my program and it costs this much money. I don't even know if they want it. It's really presumptuous. So a good way to help someone to ask a question is to say, Susan, it was so good getting to know you today. I'm really glad we had time to connect. I've asked you so many questions. Let me give you some space to ask me anything that you want to ask. And that way, then they can ask, well, how do you work together? What does this cost? If they still do not ask, then there's still something that's missing, either in the way that it was set up, or they're just really not interested. But I never give a price or go into what my program is unless I am asked. That for me is the way that it stays out of being salesy and it stays in serving.
Quick question with that. Do you try to wait until you actually get a coaching session or do a coaching session with them? Or do you want to get it during that first 20, 30-minute connection point?
It's so interesting. It depends on the person's personality. When it's an anxious person, I coach a lot of high anxiety level, fast people. They want the bottom line and they want it now. Yes, they're still going to coach with me, but they don't want to wait until next week to find it out, and they can handle it. I can tell them the price, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to pay for it, but they can handle the information. So if they're high intensity and they've asked, I don't hold out on what the price is. I'll tell you right now what my highest recommendation is. And I will say, just from what we're talking about today, this is what my highest recommendation is. But one of my requirements is that we coach. Let's coach and then let's see if this changes. But just if I had to guess right now, this is probably where you would fall into. Something like that. If they don't ask, they always have to ask something before I will offer them up a coaching session with me. So if there is no movement on their end, they're not asking me, how do you work? What comes next? Anything like that, then I'm not even going to offer that coaching session. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love but I have some requirements.
Yes.
It
So
changes the dynamic. It's kind of flips it back like, well, this is a two-way exploratory call. This is an interview on both sides.
Yeah.
Which is true anyway. We don't want to coach the wrong person. So I love it.
And that, when I learned how to do that, that was one of the greatest things that I've learned in coaching, is to have my own requirements for people. That it's not that I work with just anybody because you're going to give me money. In the beginning, the truth is that what I did do that. And I think a lot of us do. There's nothing wrong with it when you're building your business to kind of figure out your personality types, who you enjoy and that sort of thing. But as you get busier, we really want to work with the people who excite us. We feel drawn to them. We want to work with them, not just like, well, it'll fill a slot and this will pay for my car payment and it'll pay for this, that there's more there, there's more substance. And you're exactly right that when you turn it around and you say, hey, thank you for asking. I'm glad we're here. I have a few requirements first for anyone that I'm considering, and I like to use the word considering, that I'm considering coaching with. And you're right. Then it puts them on check too, that it's not just them choosing me, it's me choosing them. It's a mutual relationship. Susan, did that answer your question?
Well, I got a hell no.
You got a hell no? Okay. A hell no that it answered your question, or you got a hell no from someone that you pitched?
I was doing magical thinking there, Gretchen. I was expecting you were reading my brain.
Well, I had a feeling it had to do with a connection call, but just in case it was really about me, like, let me explain some more.
So I had this connection call, and then I had a coaching call. And then she said, exactly, I want to know how we're going to work together and what's it going to cost. So here she was telling me, and she was shocked. She was gobsmacked when I told her what the fee was.
Mhm.
And then I said, well, that is my fee, and you're paying for my expertise and my experience in working with people just like you. I know that I can help you. And she said, well, let me think about it. And 2 hours later, she said, no way. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. So do you mind? Can we get into this a little bit? May I offer you something? Okay.
Please.
So here, you had done the connection call and then you offered her the coaching session. Did you set up the coaching session with one of three things is going to happen at the end of this today?
I'm not sure I remember what that is.
Okay, so whenever we're doing the coaching session with someone, after we've given our requirements, and coaching them is one of them before we decide, at the beginning of that call, what we say is, Gretchen, Susan, I'm so glad that we get to coach together today. Let me just set up the frame for you of what's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay, you did all of that. Okay, and just for anyone listening, it's the part where we say one of three things is going to happen. One, we'll get to the end of this and you might have some questions about how we work together. Two, you might feel like you're well on your way and we'll put a bow on it and say goodbye. Or three, I might send you some resources. Does that sound okay to you? That way they're not waiting for when you're going to sell them. All right, so that's the first part. At the end, Susan, when you had helped her get to her form of measurement and she had her outcome, did she commit to something that she was going to work on between now and either on her own or the next time you guys talked?
That's when she started to get a little sketchy, because I had pushed her in one direction. I thought that she needed to be more specific about what her dream was. And what she really wanted was, she wanted to spend more time in her dream and fleshing it out and talking about it and getting really tied into this vision that she had.
Okay.
So I think I missed the cue.
Okay, well, what great learning though. That's great learning, because sometimes we do miss it. I've missed it. Sometimes we just miss it, or we're preoccupied or whatever it is. That's okay. So if you miss it, I've done this before. I'll ask someone, hey, can we have a do-over? I've even done this with my clients. If I'm having a preoccupied day, because I'm a human, and sometimes I'm not thinking about the client in front of me, but it just happens to be their coaching time, but I'm really thinking about whatever in my own life. And I know that the session was just so, I'll admit it. And I'll say, I was so preoccupied today. Can we do a do-over? It's on me. And people are always like, really, I didn't even know you were preoccupied, or yeah, I could tell you were off, or whatever, but they're very grateful for that. So even with a potential client, you can say, you know, I realized something, and you could say this to her in email if you wanted to. You wanted this, and I was pushing this other thing. I'm sorry I wasn't slowed down enough to hear what you really wanted. If you'd like, I'm happy to coach you again with no expectation that we're going to work together, but I'd really like to help you get this thing that you wanted. How does that sound?
Not sure I'm mature enough to be able to do that.
That's really honest. Okay, so that's your growth edge, and you can do it. I was horrified the first time I did it because it meant that I was not perfect. I messed up, and you know, the admitting part. But here's what happens when you do that. It makes you human, and people trust you more. She's already a no. You can lose nothing on this. Just ego. And ego's not our amigo, as we've talked about. So just your ego. That's it. But, and I see your hand, Greg. I'll answer your question in 1 minute. And Susan, so then the next part would be, when you get to the end, you get to say, well, how was that for you? What did you get? What did you learn? What action do you want to take? However you close out your sessions, they get to say it. And then you get to say, okay, so what questions do you have? You know, where are we at with this? And that's when they typically ask, how do we work together? Or say, thank you very much, or whatever they're going to say. So that's when you know it's time to talk about the money. And when people gasp at our prices, people gasp at my, yes, that's normal. That's okay. You just sit. Here's where you might have sped up when you say, but you're paying for my expertise, you're paying this, you're paying that. What did she say? That's a lot of money, or yeah. And that's everybody's reaction. You get to say it is. And I wouldn't want you to invest unless you were 100% sure that coaching was going to work for you. What would need to happen in our container for it to be a good fit? Who would you have to be in this container to get the things that you want? And it just opens it up. Remember, that's a lot of money, is just their own internal dialogue. It has nothing to do with you at all. Do not start explaining all the reasons that it's a lot of money. We don't argue with them. It's like, it is. Yeah, you're right. Because that already disarms them.
I can't get over that. Even when they say that, but I have some requirements. It's such a good, it's so good. It's so key.
Yeah.
It's disarming in some way. It makes it feel less salesy, because any sales environment I've been, there hasn't been, but I have requirements for you that I don't remember ever saying that in sales.
No, it's not the way that we're taught sales. Yeah, that's it. Susan, do you have a follow-up question before I get to Greg?
No, I've been on the hot seat too long. Please go to somebody else.
Okay. Just give me a thought on what you just heard though, and how it may or may not work for you.
What's coming up for me is I think I need some more practice. I have a couple more calls coming up. So this is all in preparation for it.
Good. And tomorrow during Stairway to Six, we're really going to go over connection call basics as well. So this is going to help.
Thank
Great.
you.
You're welcome. I had seen your hand. Go ahead. Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. You need to turn up your volume.
How about now?
Now.
Okay. It just seemed like you were coming from a place of service when you said you just, and you were showing vulnerability.
Yeah.
I teach my kids, I was wrong, I don't know, I need help.
Yep.
So coming from a place of vulnerability and just showing service that, you know, I think I can do better. Can we do this again? That's just what my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. So I know that the first time someone, a coach, obviously, told me to do a do-over with someone, I was like, what? But then what if they want their money back? What if this? What if blah, 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 you know, all the things. And she said, just do it. Because that's the way my coaches talk to me. Just do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll just do it because I'm good when you tell me just do it. And I did it. And the person met me with so much love. It was no problem. And I didn't have to go into why I was preoccupied or talk about the person who I just found out had cancer. Like, it didn't matter why. I just wasn't fully present. And I didn't need to get pity or have them get on my side or learn the reasons why, which I was very tempted to do. Like, that's the other piece of it. You're going to notice where you're tempted to make it about you instead of just, you know what, I wasn't fully focused, and let's do a do-over. Really helps. Okay, I see, Julie, that you asked in the chat, what requirements. Julie, can you put your face on camera?
I suppose I can.
I like to see your face, Julie.
Not in like, it's
It's okay.
right. Hold on. Give me just a second. What am I doing? I'm just not in like the best lighting
If
situation.
you don't want to, you don't
I
have
will. It's fine.
Once you
Whatever.
get there- Okay, everyone says, this is my friend Julie.
Here I am with my
Julie
hair in a ponytail.
She's a coach and she's a podcaster and she's just very wonderful, a great, great, great human to meet. I'm so glad that you came tonight. So your question is about the requirements?
Yeah, when you said, these are my requirements for working with me, what are they? What do you tell them?
Yeah. So typically what I say is they've asked me something about, well, how do we work together? What does it cost? Whatever it is, I'll say, I'm so glad we're here. Let's slow things down for a minute. I do have a few requirements. The first is that you're really ready for the changes in your life that coaching with me is going to cause. I don't know what is going on in your life right now. I don't know how many changes you can handle. And this is where they get to tell you, for some people, if one more apple is moved from their apple cart, it's a terrible time. They are barely maintaining. They don't want to do it. Don't coach with me yet. No problem. Most people say, I was born ready. Great, blah, blah. The next one is your commitment level. Coaching is more than just a financial commitment. And I say that so that they're not just thinking money, but we're talking about, it's like coaching is more than just a financial commitment. It's a commitment of your time. It's a commitment of follow through, and it's a commitment to being different. I can't be in charge of you following through on the things that we talk about in our calls. It's going to be up to you. You're 100% responsible for your results. That one they think about, they're like, well, because people are used to just throwing money at things, at the problem. Well, if I do this, then this is what's going to happen. No, I want them to know it's really a commitment. Then the third one is, and let's coach before either of us decide if we should move forward. I want you to experience coaching with me. We've gotten to know each other a little bit today, but you will not truly know or understand what coaching with me is like until we do it. It's on me. I want you to bring something that you either shared with me today or something that's still there that you would like to move the needle on, and let's see what we can do.
Wow. That's serious.
It's serious. It is. But look at how you just changed even when you said, wow, that's serious. That's what you want your client to feel. That way, when you drop a fee, they know that we're not talking about just going to coffee, right? This isn't friendship that we're doing. We're not messing around. This is a committed relationship where I'm going to show up to help you to make the changes that you're saying that you want, but you have to be ready. You have to be committed. I can't be those things for you. Our clients are 100% responsible for their own results.
Can I ask one question as a follow-up to that too?
Stu?
Do you have different pricing for different people? And can you give us an idea of what your pricing is, or like?
Yeah, so great question. My program pricing is different than individual pricing. So program pricing, like Stairway to Six, was $6,200. I have a roundtable program that's $12,000. I have a retreat that's $5,000. So like programs are different depending on what it is. I have workshops. Christy, how much are my workshops? She's muted.
Sorry, it depends on the workshop, but some are 47. I think we've had some higher and lower depending on the lengths and the container of it.
Yeah, so different things when it comes to workshops and coaching programs or other types of programs. It just depends on how much individual coaching I'm giving, how much facilitating I'm doing, and how much training I'm doing, because they're all a different skill. right? And so like my roundtable program, it's basically a group run by the people who are in it. I will teach something. We do a lot of networking in that group. We create businesses. I teach high-level coaching skills, but they get 2 sessions with me a month. So it's a higher level, higher paid program than something like Stairway to Six, where there's almost no individual coaching with me and I'm teaching. It's a lot of teaching and some spot coaching. So you get to think about that. When it's individuals, my prices started when I started out at $1,800 for 3 months. Then it went to $2,400, then it went to $3,000. Then I don't even remember. I think I dropped the 3 months after that and started doing 6 months and then year-long coaching programs. My coaching programs range anywhere depending on length of time and how much coaching, from 15,000 to 45,000. So again, just depends how long are we coaching, how many sessions per month are we doing, how much in between coaching. So it's kind of like, I know those are the parameters for me, but it depends who I'm working with and what they need. That's the other piece of it. But that's what it looks like with my executives, kind of the same price for an individual. It depends on how much is company sponsored and how much isn't. But, executive coaching can go from anywhere from like 800 to 1,500 a session for different coaches. That's what they charge, and lower than that as well. But that can give you a frame. And I never coach by the hour as far as like, oh, I'm X amount of dollars per hour. It's per contract that this is the engagement. Tuition for this program is. That helpful, Julie?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. Thank you.
Hi. You have a follow-up question or comment?
No, I mean, I'm just thinking, I like the conversation we had before about niching, because, I never wanted to niche, but for marketing purposes, people have been telling me to niche, so that's where that was at. But I found what you had to say very interesting.
Thanks.
That's
Hey.
it for now. I don't want to take up too much time. I want to hear what other people.
You're fine. You're fine. Who else here? Robin, you had come on and off of camera. Did you want to ask anything? You're muted.
There we go. Great content. And it's always so helpful to hear how much you charge, and, that you use the word program. There's a lot of valuable information that you're giving us. And, I love what you shared about your coaches saying, just do it, because there's places I struggle with money, and, you can get yourself, you can devalue yourself. And so, you just have to stand up strong and start someplace and keep going. Do it. Just do it. Right?
That's it. Just do it. Just do it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for participating.
Yeah.
Laura, I don't know if that's how you pronounce your name. I had seen your face for a minute. Did you want to ask anything or participate?
Coming off video and mute, just saying
Hi.
hi. I got shy when I knew you were recording.
If you want to turn your video off, you can. It's complete.
It's okay. No, but I'm here as a guest of Susan, so thank you, Susan, for inviting me. And I just wanted to see what your perspective was. And I think this idea of broadening your niche is a really good one, because, like you said, there's ways to connect with people outside of a niche that you wouldn't describe, right? Like you wouldn't necessarily go out and say, I only work with extroverted thinkers, or, whatever kind of whatever floats your boat, if that makes sense. So I think it got me thinking about things in a little bit of a different way. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Good. Anyone else who hasn't spoken tonight? There's been some quiet people. Lily, Anna. Yeah, go ahead. Who wants to go?
So kind of aligned with what you were saying about basically telling the clients, like, look, these are my expectations. I need you to take this serious. I'm currently with a client. She used to be my practice client, and I kept her on for like a symbolic price because I wanted to continue helping her. But what I'm seeing is that it's more like a coffee chat at this point. She has trouble adhering to any kind of structure I put forth in the session. And she's not really working with worksheets. It's really like, oh, you're more my sounding board. And I've already emailed her to draw up some boundaries in terms of, if you're not reaching out to schedule next session, you're not signed. I mean, I obviously formulated it better than what I'm saying right now. Sending the, worksheets back, like, and, time is obviously important. I'm not sure if you're ready for the coaching relationship. So at this point, I'm starting to build a frustration. Obviously, it's symbolic price. I'm like, I have definitely more worth than what's coming in, and I'm putting a lot more energy into it, and I kind of just want to let it go.
Okay, can I offer a couple of things here? Okay, so first thing for everyone, for all of the coaches, whenever I'm answering anyone or doing some spot coaching, all of you listen and put yourself in the person's shoes. So here's the thing, Anna, whenever I am working with clients, I'm not going to email them about boundaries. What you want to do at the beginning of your coaching contract with someone during the very first paid session is you want to go over your agreements with them. And this is important. And you want to talk about what coaching is and what it isn't, and tell them how to prepare. So my clients know that in between sessions, they need to be keeping notes about what they'd like to be coached on so that we can use the time well. I find out, you're going to do that big intake session with them too, so that you know the main things that they want to get from coaching. But you also want to tell them that coaching is really for movement. And I tell all my clients, I'm going to ask you, what would you like to be coached on today? How will you know that you've achieved that? And what do you want to walk away with? I tell them so that they can already come ready to go. So part of it, what you could do, you could practice being a professional in this space and tell her at your next session, listen, I've noticed that the coaching frame has gotten just a bit off of track, and that's on me. Here's what coaching really is, and here's how it's intended. I'm wondering, does what I'm describing to you serve you? Is this something that you would like to continue? She's probably going to say no, is my guess, or she'll say, yeah, I'll try it. And then you tell her, I'm going to show you today what it is. And I'd like to ask that we both stay in the parameters. And it might feel uncomfortable to be asked questions where you have to get specific, but that's the only way that coaching works.
I mean, I can't wait to say exactly that.
Good. When is it?
She's scheduled for the 10th, but I think I moved it up to the 8th.
Good. Okay.
I'm
Great.
going on vacation with my daughter. So yeah.
Good. So there you go. And Christy just dropped a great replay that's all about agreements versus expectations.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone should listen to this. But whenever you are working with someone, you do want to have agreements. For those of you who are in Stairway to Six, day one, we did agreements. You guys had written agreements that you all signed, but we did verbal agreements too. One of the agreements I have with my clients is if something isn't working for you, you won't keep it hidden. You will tell me. If something isn't working for me, I will not keep it hidden. I will tell you. That way too, they can see that coaching is important. It's not just willy-nilly. We're not just going to talk during our coaching session, but your client has to know, because this is a completely different container than anything else. All right. We have time for what? Did that answer it? You good? Complete there? All right. Time for one more question. If anyone has another question or comment.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
And it is about where are you finding your clients? I know a lot of it's repeat business at some point, right? But in the very beginning, when you were starting up, how did you go about just reaching out to potential clients?
Yeah, so what I did is I thought of the people that I'd love to connect with, who would I like to serve? And I reached out to them for connection calls and just said, hey, let's schedule 30 minutes and we would reconnect. I told every person that I had ever worked with that I was coaching. I offered a lot of free coaching. I did a newsletter and I was on Yelp. And that got me, some clients in the beginning. It really did. I got a lot of phone calls from it. They weren't high level, but they were enough to get me going with coaching. And then I started getting referrals because I'd been doing it for a while. Also having a good group of people that know you and know that you coach, whether you want to call it a networking group, a women's group, a whatever group, that's a great place to find clients as well and people to refer you. And Julie, for you with your podcast, I mean, really every single person that has been on your podcast or that listens to your podcast, you need to really say, I'm a coach and I love coaching people who X, Y, and Z. But every single time you open, you should say that. And in your podcast, when you are interviewing, you should say things like, yeah, in my coaching practice, or here's something that happened with one of my clients. That way people know.
Yeah, I'm not doing very good at that.
You're not doing very bad at it. You actually have been, you're a great interviewer and you've done an excellent job. I just think that that's something that you could add that would really help you.
Yes, the interviewing part I have, right? But it's
Yeah,
the
you're excellent.
marketing part is what I've sort of like, and we discussed why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But we it's the marketing piece of it, because now I have a podcast. I can literally like start emailing people on LinkedIn and saying, hey, HR person, listen to my podcast, and which I haven't.
And for every podcast guest that comes on, you could also email them afterwards and say, one of the things I like to do with everyone that's on my podcast is give them a coaching session. There are you have so many things that you can do.
I have not even thought of that.
I know, but now you did.
You thought of it. Thank you.
I know, but I just gave it to you, so use it.
I will.
All right, Julie. Okay. Rebecca, I see your hand. Go ahead and close this out.
I had a follow-up question, just a quick question. When did you start noticing the shift from feeling like you were, like you kind of said at the beginning, you would reach out to everybody you knew, and then kind of it feels like there's this slow graph.
It's a slow burn, right? Yeah.
I read about, and I'm just curious when yours happened.
Okay, so let me think of this because I want to give an honest answer. Okay, first year I had to do PR because I had a PR company and coaching because I couldn't give up the PR income yet, but I was reaching out to every single person I knew, every PR client I had. I told them, listen, I've recently added coaching to my list of services and I'd love to coach your exec, or I'd love to bring a program into you. So that was one way. Second year is when I got to give up PR because I had enough income coming in to replace it. But man, I was still like, I call it turning on the faucet. That faucet was on full blast. I was having so many connection calls every week. Third year was still pretty much on. Fourth year and onward is when I was pretty darn busy and had a lot of referrals happening. And now, I mean, Christy tries to fit people onto my schedule. So for like the last 2 years, it's been that, and I've only been doing this for 7 years. It was just 7 years in January. So, but it is a climb and you have to turn on that faucet. I still take new prospective calls because, we don't know when one train is going to end, when one corporation's not going to hire you again, or one client is not going to hire you again. So I'm always having those connection calls, just not to the same capacity that it was when I first started. Thank you, Christy, for the happy birthday. Yeah. Did that answer it, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I think I like instant results in this modern age.
Oh, me too.
So
I love
I'm like
results.
Impatiently waiting for my moment.
Well, remember, it's math. And so this is the thing that really helped me. And then we'll close out is I had to think of this logically, not in my feeling state, not my, why isn't anyone hiring me? I don't know who to reach out to. It was just math. It's logic. The more people you connect with, the more likely you are to get a client. The less people you connect with, that's why you don't have a client. That's why you all have the captain's log. It's to see math. You know, how many people are you really reaching out to? You know, so when people come to me and coaches come to me and they say, I'm not making any money, I don't have any clients, I always tell them, let me see your calendar for a month. How many outreach calls have you had? Oh, well, that's why you don't have clients. So it's easy. It's just, if we use logic instead of feelings on that, it will really help you. So if you want clients, up the math, you know, really make sure that you are fully turning on that faucet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was so good to see everybody. And I know I'll see some of you tomorrow for Stairway to Six. To the people who aren't in that program, I'm so glad that you came. I hope that you will come next month as well. We do this the first Wednesday of every month. Anyone want to say anything before we say goodnight? Takeaway that you have?
Thank you for becoming a coach. Happy birthday.
Aw, you're so great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Turn on the faucet. That's the one I'm taking away. Thank
Turn
you.
it on and make it splash. Like
Splash. There you
break the
go.
washer on the faucet. Like turn that baby on. All right, everybody, go and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
You
Thank
are
you.
welcome.
Laura,
Really great
Susan.
conversation.
you.
See you
See you
guys
tomorrow.
tomorrow.